Reminds me of a story. This is a funny story. I had a friend who she was on the road to being permabanned. She couldn't stop saying awful things in the game. She was just, attack people, be pretty nasty to people. And this is just a dumb story. This story has no meaning to it, but it's an interesting story. And so she was on her second 2-week ban. She was on the way to being permabanned, and kind of freaking out about it because despite the fact that she would say this stuff, she was a very impulsive person. So it was like, I was like, you need to delete your chat. You need to mute yourself. You need to stop doing this. And she was for some reason just incapable of stopping. It wasn't good. But she was on the path to being permabanned. It probably would have happened if she ever got banned again. And so she's like, how can I stop? And I was like, tell you what, I will give you RP if you stop being toxic. You want a skin? I will send you a skin. You just have to agree to not be toxic anymore. And it worked. Never got banned again. And she got her skin. Now, I'm not saying that is a real solution for really anybody, but it's funny how in her specific case, all it took was some incentive. She had a very hard time controlling herself in game, but once she had an incentive to think about and be like, okay, as long as I don't do this, I'll get that skin. Never banned again. What skin was it? It was just RP. I gave her enough RP for a legendary skin, and she was never toxic again. So that's wild. Get any character from any other game you played in the League, who would you want to add? There's a lot of great characters to add. Uther from WoW is pretty sweet, so is Arthas. A lot of Blizzard characters would be sweet in League of Legends, as you may have seen with HOTS. A lot of Shonen characters. Oh, that's another thing. League doesn't really have any Shonen protagonists. Ezreal, kinda. But I'm talking about the Narutos and the Monkey D. Luffy's, right? League doesn't really have a guy like that, I don't think. Can anybody think of one? No, Yasuo is not that type of shonen protagonist. He's an anime hero for sure in some ways, but I'm talking about again Naruto or Monkey D. Luffy, that kind of Echo. Echo could maybe be, but he's so serious. I feel like Echo he'd be closer to a Sasuke than he'd be to a Naruto. Ezreal's kind of close. I think another thing about the shonen protagonists though is they're trying to get better. A whole deal of a shonen protagonist is that they start out on a lot of times they're on a journey, and part of that journey is an ascent to power. Echo probably is actually does have a lot of beats of that, but I think there may be something going on there we could try. Well, you made BEL'VETH. I can't believe you hate us that much. Have you seen 70% plus win rate BEL'VETH main players and Master Plus play it? League of Legends champions are designed in such a way that if you are very, very good at the game, it is quite possible for any individual player to have insane win rates on a character, especially if they are better than their opponents. So coming in and saying there's some master tier players in that have 70% win rate on BEL'VETH is not something that I find alarming or problematic necessarily. I would find it alarming or problematic if these were bad players, right? Where it's hey, here's a way to just abuse the game, play BEL'VETH, and you win, and it doesn't matter if you're good. But it is not a problem or an indictment of really any champion if they have mains that win a lot on them. That's not an issue. An issue with a character like BEL'VETH is how much she wins on average in high MMR, and if that is too high, then yeah, that's probably something we should do about it. Don't want a character to be overpowered. Never have I seen more of an OP on win rates other than Kindred or BEL'VETH. Massive problem, man. So, since we're talking about BEL'VETH, this is something that is interesting. I don't know if it's still true, but we're going to go investigate. So, historically, BEL'VETH has had a thing where, depending on the region you look at, she's significantly stronger or weaker. So, if you go to EU, let's see if this is still true. I don't know if it's actually true anymore. So, jungle, pick rates. BEL'VETH's going to be at the bottom for the average player because she's, relatively unpopular. So, she'll be around, the 2% ranges. There she is, 50%, not too great. But the issue is being reported as Master Plus, where she wins a lot more games. So if we look at win rates in Master Plus on jungle, one of the higher ones is Rek'Sai, but the sample size is incredibly low. This is one of the problems with looking at win rates on Master Plus is just how low the sample size is. Kindred's high, low sample size. There's very few characters in this sample that we can actually draw good conclusions about. One of the only ones maybe would be like a character like Kha'Zix, because he actually has a couple thousand games. That's the hard part about looking about like Masters Plus. Maybe if we expand our data to 3 days, 30 days, that gets a little better. You still have like pretty low sample size on a number of characters. Where's BEL'VETH? BEL'VETH's like 53 with 1,500 games. So, there's a real thing there. She's about the same win rate in Masters Plus as like Nocturne and Viego. So looking at this, I'm like, wow, okay, characters in Masters Plus. Seems around other champs. That's EU Northeast. Globally, let's take a look at her. Globally, I'm assuming she's going to be actually less popular. Where is she? BEL'VETH. BEL'VETH globally in Masters Plus is 54. You have to remember the average win rate is 53. So, that's not really that crazy either. But hey, maybe it's not a master thing. Maybe it's a grandmaster thing, right? Maybe it's at the tippy top of the ladder, which is, generally where she tends to be a lot stronger. We can actually, go look at, what she looks like in different regions at the tippy top of the ladder. And so, in Grandmaster Plus, she has, a 4% pick rate, a 51% win rate, a 56% win rate, when the average is 54. So it's 52. It's fairly good. In EU Northeast, it's actually a lot higher. Her pick rate's high and her win rate's a lot higher in Master. She has a pretty decent ban rate there, 16%. You go to Korea, she doesn't have much of a ban rate, even though her win rate's similar. And so that's another thing you'll observe with characters like BEL'VETH is that depending on what region you are, they'll be stronger or weaker, crazier or not crazier, depending on the community perception who plays that. Who's people playing in Challenger? Again, up in these things, this data gets very sketchy because the sample size is low, and the average win rate is very, very high. BEL'VETH at the highest, the tippy top is 57, so she's 52 once she gets into high MMRs, which is that's a pretty decent win rate. I could definitely see that being a little strong. It's definitely on the edge because she's already 50 in low MMR, but 52 is powerful for a character with her amount of agency and dashes. So I could definitely see her being a strong pick in really, really high MMR play. That makes a lot of sense to me. Although the assertion that she's this massive curse on the game, as you seem to be saying, that's super giga OP. It's I think the hard part for me there is separating out a character being truly, truly overpowered versus just strong when a main is playing her, right? Again, it's okay for certain characters to have really high win rates when played by some of their mains, especially at higher ends in the ladder. That's not necessarily an issue.